Okay, so let's talk about the really amazing power of intentions when you bring them to your sacred psychedelic ceremony. Now, I'm really only referring to mushrooms and Bufo because I really don't feel that anything that's synthetic has the same power or ability to simply bring you to God, Goddess, all it is, the heart of love. When we have, LSD and things like that, um, that are created by humans, and for me, they're devoid of the spirit of God goddess that wants to guide you. So if it's Bufo, it's an actual toad that lives on the earth, that is, embodying the medicine and is a spiritual living being, just like mushrooms are a growing plant that psilocybin that keeps the whole network of the earth together, that network of the psilocybin. So let's talk about intention, okay? Intention. When I first went to this Bufo ceremony, my very first ceremony, I had a very strong intention. I said, Bufo, would you please uh, take me back to the origin of my uh, problems with men in relationship and heal my father wound and reset a new pattern. Help me make a brand new pattern that is healthy and will serve me the rest of my life instead of this negative pattern that I've been living over and over again from the trauma of my birth. Now, what I didn't realize is that Bufo, everybody said if you make an intention with Bufo, it's instantaneously uh, answered. It's actually the manifestation of what you're asking for happens immediately. So I was like thinking, this will be a nice little experience. But what I didn't realize was to make an intention that strong and that powerful and that big meant that I would have to die, really die in my spirit and be reborn, have a rebirth. And from that place, a new pattern could be set. So what happened was, because it was the beginning of the whole event, they just gave the same amount of Bufo. It was 50 milligrams to each person. And I didn't know what my, proclivity. I'm very, very, very sensitive, very psychic. I'm already an empath. I'm already tripping most of the time. I'm so, high on life. So this amount was such a huge amount for me that I got out into a place of like, am I alive? Am I dead? Is there a body? Can I be in a body? Can I get back to a body? Is it okay to be alive? Should I be alive? Where is my body? Who's here? Where's life? Where's the body? Is there a world? Which world? Can I get to a world? It was just, that's the things that were coming out of my mouth. And apparently I was speaking really high and really fast, but in my experience, I was speaking deeply, slowly, with tons of space between each word. The time spatial relation was very different from those watching. And I got really into a place where the tree above me was all fractals of this gorgeous, gigantic universe, so much bigger and more powerful than I thought. I'd meet God, it'd be like sweet little angels and all this loving, soft vibration. But instead, it was this gigantic cacophony of chaos mixed with unity that had taken me apart to the ends of the universe. And so I was trying to get back to my body, and there's two phases to the Bufo. Phase one, where you're sort of dying and being reborn, and there's this sound and flying through the universe type thing, and finding a body in that. And eventually, when I got to phase two, where I was more connected with my present, my body existence on the earth, and I had found that there was a body still, and I was asking Can I Be Alive? I started asking the group to help me through. I asked women to touch me on either side of my tummy. And then I asked them to touch each other at the same time. And then I asked men, a man to hold my head and a man to hold my feet. And then I asked the whole group to touch each other, and then the women to touch each other within holding each other. And pretty soon I had created a pattern to be born into. Of being held by women, of being held by men, of the women holding each other, the men holding each other, of being in a community, of being sung to. So I kept asking to be, sing me home, sing me home. And the beauty, the gorgeous majesty of this new pattern was taking place. And I had just died, and I was coming back to my body, being reborn. And then a rebirth started to happen naturally in my body and with the people singing. And the ecstatic wildness of where my spirit went and how my spirit came home was extremely beyond anything that I'd ever felt capable of experiencing. And I basically tripped all day. I didn't really come down, and all night. And then the next day I thought, gee, that was so intense. I was crying, I was weeping all the time during it and afterwards, just sobbing and crying, mainly at the beauty of life and people around me and my new pattern. And but I thought if I made another intention that was maybe softer, that the experience would be less intense. So I decided the next day to do the exact same thing like that. Like one part of me during the whole thing was like, I should never do this again. Never. Like I could never handle this wild God experience through the whole universe again. This is, I don't know if I'll ever recover, ever be the same. That was some of the thoughts going through me when I started to come back to my body. So let's talk about that in the next video. But the intention, when you set a real intention of your big change that you want to have happen, what's so wonderful is that everything that happens in your ceremony is going to align with that intention. And when I came out of this journey, I actually knew that I had a new pattern and that I had been reborn and that everything had started from a new place, from death to rebirth. And the relationship that I had been in, I no longer could be in under the same terms. It was like I had been putting up with some things that were so wrong for me and so detrimental to my health and my well-being and my sense of peace and safety. But in the new pattern that I was birthed into, suddenly I wasn't a resonant match for that anymore. And I was able to say to the person, unless everything about your, drinking habits and change, and cigarettes and everything else you do, we're no longer a resonant match because I just changed my pattern. My pattern used to be the perfect match for, sort of a double personality, a person who's one person when they're drinking and a different person when they're straight. And so that set my friend into a transfiguration of his own, because he knew that if he actually loved me, the only chance for him to be with me still would be for him to match an all new pattern of self-love that I've entered, which puts him in a pattern of his own self-love. So your changes, your dedication, your intention, not only does it allow Bufo to do something for you that is grounded and I don't want to say concrete, but adobe, strong, ancient, powerful, like structural, but it also changes the vibration and the spiritual resonance of you so that everyone around you, every relationship will either transfigure or fall away to match your new energy. So I really, really recommend you do make very strong intentions when you go into a ceremony with Bufo or mushrooms, and you be that brave. Because the reason we don't make intentions is because we don't want to face the consequence of the change. So a lot of people would be like, my intention is just to feel good or just to surrender into the love. That's great, but that's kind of really it is a cop out, because when you have the opportunity to be helped in your life so that your life will be different when you come out, and those pathologies that have been running the show and keeping you limited could be gone, versus having a nice little experience in your Bufo. It's a real waste, in my opinion, to just do it to have fun, because this is not a have fun thing. This is a this is a chance to become the divine aspect of yourself, like really get over those limits that keep you in a little cage of your psychosis, and get to start embodying the gifts you came here with, the dreams you want to follow, the passions you've always known were within you that have been bubbling up, and suddenly being courageous enough to make an intention in your Bufo experience means that you're going to live a new life in a new way, no matter what it takes, because you won't have the capacity anymore to live as the zombie, to live as the Walking Dead, or the mechanical version of you that you made up to please other people, or to to make other people angry if your revenge has been running the show, So exciting to be that courageous, to have an intention, and then to act on the intention. So the next thing is, after you've made an intention and you've had an experience with Bufo that has completely met the call, now it's about embodying your changes. Now it's about following the advice you've been given. Whoa! And that's another really important set of videos. So welcome home to Eden, Eve's Eden of Bufo. My name is Eve Christoph, and I am your love life muse, your psychedelic muse, and I'm offering integration for your spiritual expansion, integration coaching for your spiritual awakening, and your union of the divine feminine, divine masculine within you, union from of your sexuality with your spirituality. And we're going to be getting into the tantric invitation of tantra into psychedelic magic, and how to do that safely, how to do that in a way that's heaven on earth. Okay, much love, darling.